Welcome to the channel. Gotta feel this. And today we're going to be talking about NFL Week 14. First off, we're going to start off with some notable games. As a Baltimorean, of course, I gotta start off with the Ravens 37 to 31 victory over the Rams. Great game, classic game. That's a game as a football fan you like to see. You know, um, the Rams started off great, with Kyron Williams having 25 attempts for 114 yards. That's part of the reason why I think they lost this game because they got away from that run game. He had 0 touchdowns. I think one drive they ran it 8 or 9 times straight all the way up the field and threw the ball 3 times and ended up with a field goal. Um, as we know, Lamar, I feel like in the second half, something clicked in his head where he realized I've got to do more. Because we had some notable drops that was like, goodness. And it was like he just couldn't put the ball on point at certain moments, especially with that deep ball. He's definitely got to work on that. He had a great game. You know, the pass attempts, 43, 24, 43 isn't the greatest ratio, but 316 touchdowns, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Played a great game. You can't be mad at that. Uh, you know, and coaching almost lost the Ravens that game, where before before Lamar Jackson threw the touchdown to Zay Flowers, we ran the clock down to 2 minutes, and we had a couple of plays, but we called the timeout to stop the clock, which I thought was, why leave that much time on the clock? And the Rams still had all three of their timeouts. I thought that was a big blunder, but as we know, Zay Flowers went on to score. Then the Dolphins drove down the field. There was some mishaps by Marlon Humphreys where, he fell twice, I think back-to-back plays, which was not very good at all. And he almost made up for it with an interception in the end zone. But as we know, he didn't get it. They kicked the field goal to tie the game up. Oh, before that, when Zay Flowers scored and we went for that 2-point conversion, man, that Lamar Jackson play was out of this world. The man's running full speed to the sideline, stops on a dime, did like a Michael Jackson tippy toe thing, and slung it in there. Whew. But like I was saying, they ended up kicking the field goal, put us in an overtime. We got the ball, couldn't do nothing. Punted it, they got the ball, couldn't do nothing. Punted it to us, the Ravens, which a guy, I can't remember his name, comes out of nowhere. A backup punt returner. First punt returner, if I'm not mistaken. I took it to the house. 76 yards. I do believe he'll be the starting punter next week. I think he's earned that right to do that. Devin Duvernay is a great returner, but let the young guy try it out. Next game I want to get into, the Broncos versus the Chargers. Talk about turning a season around. Man, at one point in time, I do believe the Broncos were 1-4, 1-5, went on like a 5-6 game winning streak. I think they lost a week or two ago, and they're getting right back on track, beating the Chargers 24-7. Chargers, great team, man. It's just, I guess the chemistry is just not always there. A guy like Justin Herbert, who I believe is overrated because he has all the numbers except for in one column, the win column. And I don't care what you do. If you could play like Tim Tebow. He didn't have the best numbers, but he knew how to win. And that's what matters. And now the Broncos are 7-6, which is one game behind the Chiefs at 8-5. Man, I do believe they got a potential of knocking the Chiefs out. That is a close division to look closely to. At least out of that winning division spot. Do the Chiefs still get in the playoffs? I don't know. That's for a later time to determine. Speaking of the Chiefs, losing 17-20 to the Bills. Another quarterback who I believe is overrated, Josh Allen. If I'm not mistaken, he's second in touchdown passes, but he's first in interceptions with 24. You know, he's Ben Roethlisberger-esque. You know, he looks like Ben out there. He plays a little bit like Ben. But he gets it done at times. But I just feel like Josh is overrated, man. And what's going on with the Chiefs, man? Back-to-back losses. It just seems like they can't get the ball in the end zone. Against the Packers, I don't think they scored till the third quarter. You know? And just a terrible... They've just been... I don't know what it is these past 2 weeks. Will they get it together? I don't know. You know? And mind you, with these games that I'm speaking about, I don't know the injuries. I don't know who's in the game, who's out the game. But one thing I do know about the Chiefs-Bills game, somebody said, what do I think about that final play? And my whole thing about that is, as a football fan, you know, if the infraction doesn't interfere with the play and, you know, let those guys play. But that's why we have rules. And we all know that the NFL is a game of inches, you know. So that little bit of space that he had, and also the infraction happened before the play was set go. So had that couple of inches gave him that, just that much space, could have been a touchdown for him. So you gotta call it. You know, you can't let something like that ride. As much as you would want something like that, the refs didn't know he wasn't going to get the pass thrown to him, you know? So it's like, you got to call it in that situation. Game of inches, yes. Call it. You know? I don't know what the fuss was about Pat Mahomes. I mean, yeah, we feel like, come on, man. Yes, but it's the beginning of the play. Now, if it's like a tug pull or something like that in the end zone, it's like, it's going out of bounds. He could have caught it, you know, type thing, but it wasn't. Next game I want to talk about, Eagles losing 13-33 to the Cowboys. Man, it's gotta hurt to be a Eagles fan. Because, I mean, you guys been playing so well all year. And you come up and put up a stinker against the Cowboys, which is a great team. A great team. But to lose in that fashion by 20 points, do they panic? No. Because they're still playoff bound. You know, it's just a regular season. Get those, because this is a potential NFC championship matchup. So get those little things fixed. You know, glad to see some things that you got to see out of them. You know, same thing with losing to the 49ers. Is that a time to panic? No, you want to get that loss in the regular season. See what you did wrong. You know, you got film now. And, you know, go back to the drawing board. Figure it out, you know. Um, Another game I want to talk about is Seahawks versus the 49ers. 49ers 28, Seahawks 16. Don't want to say too much, but I do want to speak. I don't want to speak too much on the game, but I more so want to speak towards Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. Man, 19 of 27, 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception for Brock Purdy. It's like this week was just the week for quarterbacks to throw interceptions, man. Am I lying? It seemed like everybody threw a pick this week. But Christian McCaffrey, 16 attempts for 145 yards. Man, you can't argue with production like that. I'm not surprised by the win. 49ers have been steamrolling teams. Great win by them. Not really shocked about that. Next game I want to talk about is, don't want to speak too much about it, but the Patriots beating the Steelers 21-18. I'm not too sure if Kenny Pickett is still out or not, but the Steelers should start they should start to hit the panic button, because I feel like a lot of the wins that they got came by the grace. Like they didn't. It was more mistakes on the other team's part for them winning. So them losing these games back to back like this is not shocking at all to me. Even though they're a playoff team as of today, I'm not shocked by them losing back to back games. Next game I want to get into is the Titans versus the Dolphins. Man, and this is another thing I want to speak to before I get into it. In my opinion, I don't know the stats on it or the facts on it or nothing like that, but in my opinion, it seems like whenever a quarterback goes down and a second quarterback comes in, he usually plays well, and they usually play well, especially that first game. Probably not throughout the whole season, but guys who get that first chance to play a whole season usually play well. Notable names like C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy, they're playing great. Will Levis went for 23 of 38, 327 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Beat the Titans. Got 14 points with less than 3 minutes left in the game. Am I shocked? No. Once again, because I don't believe the Dolphins are who everybody else is saying they are. They haven't beat a team when they played them that was over 500 that I can remember. And so for them to lose, they haven't beat a team of, great talent. At least at the time. They beat the Broncos, who are doing good now, but I think if the Broncos got their chemistry together now, I think if they would play again, the Broncos would win. And until the Dolphins beat substantial competition, we already know it's any given Sunday, but until they beat substantial competition, they'll be out first round. First playoff game, they're out. They got all the numbers and blah, blah, blah. But, they can't help their schedule. But when they did play the guys who had winning records, they got beat. So, the Ravens got to see them in 2 weeks. Shut me up. Shut me up. But, and Raheem Mostert, he had 21 attempts for 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great numbers. Great numbers. You know, he's been doing that all year. And but it just wasn't enough. Next, I want to get into the Browns 31-27 victory over the Jags. And what did I just say about backup quarterbacks coming in and playing well? Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco, former Baltimore Raven, former Super Bowl quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, might I add. Last week, played great the whole game until the fourth quarter where he threw an interception, lost the game for him. Played great. Also, played great this game. 26-45, 311, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. All my quarterbacks who I've noted this week, all 3 interceptions. It's crazy. But the 3 touchdowns, Joe still got it. And any team that's got to see them in the playoffs with Joe Flacco at quarterback, I would be worried. One of the best quarterbacks when it comes to the playoffs. His numbers don't lie, and his numbers are astounding in the playoffs. The year we won the Super Bowl, before the Super Bowl game, 12 touchdowns, no interceptions. The only person to do that, Joe Montana. He's got wins over the Patriots, the Steelers in the playoffs. You know, who beats the Patriots in the playoffs? First round. Who does that? Joe did it. So, he got a win. He could have had one last week, got one this week against a tough opponent in the Jags. They're not no walkovers. And he got it done. You know, I'm a Flacco fan for life. First football jersey I ever bought. Joe Flacco. That's my guy. You know, I'm happy for him. I'm happy to see him back out there winning games and has a potential of going to the playoffs where he shines brightest. You know, but that's it for the notable games I wanted to speak about. Next, I want to speak on my MVP race. You know, at number 1, I got these 2 tied for number 1, actually. I got Brock Purdy with 3,553 passing yards, 25 touchdowns with 116.9 passer rating. I don't know what the record is, but 116.9 passer rating. Good Lord. Pfft. Amazing. Actually, I got Tua at number 2 with 3,697 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 104.8 passer rating, and 10 interceptions. And the reason why I have him at number 2 is the 10 interceptions. Yes, he has almost 200 more yards than Brock Purdy, has 1 less touchdown. But those 10 interceptions and, like I said earlier, not beating notable opponents is what's dropping his stock down. Second, I got Dak with 3,500 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, 107.5 passer rating. The reason why I have him at second is mostly because his defense, you know, I know the 49ers have a great defense, but Dak's defense, in my opinion, is playing much better. In my opinion. How true that may be, we'll yet to see. You know, but I could have Brock and Dak tied for number 1 and then Tua at number 2, and then I got Jalen Hurts at 3 with 3,192 passing yards, 93.5 QBR, 10 interceptions. Mind you, whenever I say these numbers, they're top 10 in the NFL. But he also has 460 rushing yards with 12 touchdowns. You know, he's not top 10 in pass touchdowns. So that's why if he had at least 20 pass touchdowns with this 12 rushing touchdowns, he could easily bet that number 2 spot. Easily over that. But the 10 interceptions and not being in the top 10 in pass touchdowns brings that stock down. Same thing with Pat Mahomes. 3,398 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions with 339 rushing yards. Which bringing that stock down, 11 interceptions and some notable losses to, these back-to-back losses, And, of course, I got Lamar. He's not top 10 in any of the passing categories except for QBR with a 97.7. 644 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns. I know some people are like, what is Lamar so spectacular? He's winning. These games, don't get me wrong, the rushing game plays a pivotal part in what Lamar is able to do, but he's winning these games. So that's why I got him up there. 2 guys who I think should be mentioned, 2 or 3 guys who is like, I don't know why their names don't come up enough in the discussion of MVP, and that's Tyreek Hill. Mainly because we already know it's a quarterback award. Tyreek Hill said it himself. Oh, let me tell you about I'm sorry. Oh man. Not only did for the Rams-Ravens game, not only did Kyren Williams have a great game, but Cooper Kupp had 8 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown. The Titans-Dolphins game, DeAndre Hopkins had 7 catches, 124 yards and a touchdown. I do believe I gave y'all Will Levis numbers with 23 of 38, 327 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Brandon Ayuk, didn't want to speak too much on that game, but I gave y'all Brock Purdy's number, if I'm not mistaken, 19 of 27, 368, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Brandon Ayuk, 6 catches, 126 yards. Deebo Samuel, 7 catches, 149 yards and a touchdown. And Drake London led all wide receivers on the Falcons with 10 catches, 172 yards. But back to my what I was saying about the MVP. I'm sorry about that. That was just my notable wide receivers in the games that they played. But Tyreek Hill, man, the guy's got 1,542 receiving yards. That's 300 more than the next guy. 12 touchdowns. That's 5-6 more than the next guy. 97 catches, which is not number 1. 15.9 yards a catch. Number 1. 26 20-plus yard plays. I mean, what more? 601 yards after the catch. Not too often do you see a guy that small running with the ball after they catch it. We've seen guys like Wes Welker, Danny Amendola, Tavon Austin, Brandon Cooks, Zay Flowers even. He tries though. But they usually Marquise Hollywood catch the ball, go straight to the ground. But Tyreek is out there making plays, man. Big plays. He should be in the discussion of MVP. Also, Christian McCaffrey should be in discussion of MVP. 1,177 rushing yards. That's 200 more than the next guy. 12 touchdowns. 226 attempts. 5.2 yards a carry. And not to mention 52 catches, 437 receiving yards with 5 touchdowns, with a total of 1,614 scrimmage yards. Like, what? Top 10 in all of these. Top 5 in all those categories. Raheem Mostert, another guy who deserves, recognition. 924 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns on 183 attempts, averaging 5 yards a carry. Man, these guys should be in that MVP discussion. And I just don't know why they're not getting the respect that they deserve. I also feel as though the AFC South is wide open right now. You got the Jags at 8-5, the Colts at 7-6, Texans at 7-6, Titans at 5-8. Who will come out on top? Who do you think will come out on top? If I had to choose, I feel as though the Jags will come out on top, but who knows? The Texans could pull it out. The way that CJ Stroud's been playing, man, he's playing like a franchise quarterback. And to piggyback off what I was saying earlier about guys coming in and playing good that first year, or the second string coming in playing good that first game, it's been a lot of times that it happened. Matt Flynn, Kirk Cousins. I mean, I can't think of them all right now, but it's so many guys that came in from as second strings that came into a game and took off, Not forever, though, because that's what I'm saying. Even though C.J. Stroud and Brock Purdy is having a great year, will they be able to do it next year? Is my question. That's something we'll have to wait and see. But with the way the Texans is playing, I don't know who's the quarterback for the Colts, but the way the Texans is playing, they have a chance of pulling it out in the AFC South. I've said this earlier. Broncos, Chiefs. Broncos 7-6. Chiefs 8-5. Broncos have a chance of knocking the Chiefs out. The NFC South all have losing records. I've seen this before where a team with a losing record got into the playoffs. All of them are 6-7. Bucks, Saints, Falcons. The Panthers are 1-12. If I had to choose a team that I would want to see out of those teams, it would be the Falcons. But who I think will be in will probably be the Bucks, more than likely, because they got those veteran players, stuff like that. AFC North, I believe, is the toughest division. Somebody told me otherwise, that it's the Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Redskins. How? When at one point in time during the season, all these teams were in the playoffs. And all these teams still have a potential of being in the playoffs. Toughest division in the NFL, hands down. Like I said, they all have the potential of still making the playoffs. As of right now, everyone is in except for the Bengals. And they're at 7-6, right along with the Steelers. So, the playoff picture goes for the AFC: Ravens number 1, Dolphins, Chiefs, Jags, Browns, Steelers, Colts. So if the playoffs was to start today, as far as the AFC picture goes, I got the Dolphins beating the Colts, the Chiefs beating the Steelers, the Browns beating the Jags. So then we would have to play, the Ravens would have to play the Browns, the Dolphins would have to play the Chiefs, who I think will win that game. Of course, I think the Ravens beat the Browns. Depends on a lot of factors if the Chiefs beat the Dolphins. You know, both have top 10 defenses. It's who can score the most points that game and how Pat Mahomes is playing. But if I had to choose right now, I'm not going against Pat. So that means the Ravens versus the Chiefs. Of course, I got the Ravens. As far as the NFC goes, you got the 49ers, number 1, Cowboys, Lions, Buccaneers, Eagles, Vikings, Packers. The Cowboys will have to play the Packers. I got the Cowboys beating them. The Lions will have to play the Vikings. I got the Lions beating the Vikings. I did something wrong last time. I'm sorry. It was the Jags, not the Browns. I'm sorry. No, it was the Browns. I'm sorry. And I got the Eagles beating the Buccaneers. So that would bring the Lions to the 49ers and the Cowboys to the Eagles. And I got the Eagles winning that game. I got the 49ers beating the Lions, which brings the 49ers to the Eagles. I got the Eagles winning that game, like I said earlier, from those losses in the regular season. They're probably going to learn something from that. A former Super Bowl contender team just of last year. So I give them the shot. Eagles versus the Ravens is the Super Bowl. We already know who I think going to win. The Ravens, of course. But that's my Super Bowl as of right now. Man, that's it for this video. You know, that's all. Week 14. I'm going to do another one week 15. All the stats and where I think everybody's at. What I thought of the games. You already know, man. Like, please comment. And I talk back. Talk to me. I talk back. You know, share. You know, all those good things. YouTube stuff. I'm here. You know, you gotta feel this. You know what I'm saying? I'm out. Holla at your boy, man.